Hello all my wonderful Coldplayers out there, and congratulations because we are officially in the moon music era. And honestly, there is just so much that has happened recently and a ton to debrief on. But before we get started, I just wanted to mention that I'm running a contest right now to win a $50 Amazon gift card. And all you have to do to enter is pre-save my new song, which is linked in the description below. But honestly, I'm not a huge channel, so there's probably not a lot of people who are going to submit for this, so your chances are pretty decent. And also, if you're interested in staying up to date on all this Coldplay news, which there's gonna be a lot to come up very soon, definitely subscribe to this channel. It means a lot to me and also keeps you informed. But without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so how this is going to happen is I'm going to basically just recap a few important things first, and then we'll dive into the new stuff. So to start things off, we're going to go all the way back to January of 2023, where we had this quote from Chris that said, "We're finishing an album called Moon Music, which is the second Music of the Spheres volume, but that won't come out for a bit. We might be playing some songs at some point this year." And then in January of this year, a few more things happened. First of all, it was noted that they were in the studio recording their new album. There was also this leak of song titles from the Niles Rodgers interview that had this like whiteboard and it had some song titles on it. And those songs included Moon Music, Man on the Moon, Good Feeling, and Jupiter. Also at this point in January, a few songs had already been performed live, including One World, Eterna, and A Wave. So just about 5 months ago, we already had 7 potential song titles that we could see on Moon Music. Also, one last thing to recap before we get into the new stuff. At some point, Guy had mentioned that they were almost done recording Moon Music and that it would likely come out sometime in September, of which I said in a previous video that we could see the album come out somewhere around September 27th. And that's pretty much everything you need to know leading up into what happened recently. So now we can talk about the juicy stuff. Okay, so going back just a few weeks, on May 23rd, Coldplay basically rebranded and changed all their profile pictures and banners to this. And just to speak a little quickly on this, I personally really like this look. I think that that blue is really satisfying and it kind of reminds me of like Milo's Loto, Head Full of Dreams kind of era. So I think with this rebranding, I think they nailed it. And then a couple days later on May 25th, we had the big weekend in Luton. And this was funny because they were rumored to have like a secret new song that they might be performing at this performance. And technically, they did perform a new song, but it wasn't a Moon Music song. Instead, they played this essentially ode to the Luton Town Football Club. And it was meant to be just kind of funny, but it also had us fans clowning over this new song. But that fortunately was not the only takeaway we got from this performance. We did see those same phases of the moon on some gear backstage. So essentially with the changing of their branding on socials and seeing the same symbol on their gear, it was evident that something big was on the horizon. And these moon sightings continued because on May 29th, we saw the album cover for Parachutes, which is typically a globe, changed to a moon. And at the time of recording this, it is still on Apple Music as that moon. So if you'd like to check that out for yourself, feel free to do so. So now we can get into some really juicy stuff that happened in the last few days. On June 7th, a lot happened, starting off with this. This was the first official teaser of a new song that we believe to be titled Feels Like I'm Falling in Love. And we can speculate this title because Coldplay has been using the acronym FLIFIL. But for some reason, if you haven't heard this yet, definitely check it out after this video. Coldplay has been posting it on stories and just on all their socials, so it should be pretty easy to find. But I am just really excited for this one. And it's funny because I can't pinpoint like an exact album or era of Coldplay that this sounds like. And I mean, it obviously sounds uniquely Coldplay, but I think what excites me is the fact that it doesn't sound like anything we've heard before, which makes me feel like this new sound for the song is like their new sound, which is super exciting to think about. I guess if anything, it kind of sounds like Higher Power in a way, but less 80s synthy and more natural sounding, if that makes sense. So all of this just to say that I'm really optimistic about how this album could turn out. Okay, so also on June 7th, Coldplay Extra had this meetup and Phil showed up to it. And it seems like he was some kind of main speaker at this event, and he had a lot of positive things to say about the new album. He said things like, "Never made an album better than this one, and each song is as good as the last." Which, to all this praise, I would say I am ecstatic to hear that Phil loves the album, but something that I always try to do and practice myself and would advise you to do as well is not to expect this to be like the best thing that you've ever heard, because that's just not realistic, right? You don't want to build up all of your expectations and then have it not be what you wanted. And so I would say have the bar a little lower. That way, when this is the best thing that you've ever heard, then you can be over the moon about it. All right, moving on, and it's crazy that I have so much news to talk about, but on June 8th, the very next day, we had our first show back, and this time it was in Athens, Greece. And not too much happened at this event other than the fact that we saw more of this moon music decor spotted at this show. But on the following day, on June 9th, we got several big surprises. First off, Coldplay posted this video of all of them sitting on this couch in the studio with a caption, "Final bit of recording," which, speaking of this video, I just really wanted to talk about it. Because in this recording, you hear this guitar part that has this melody. It goes like, which to me sounds a lot like, "I always loved you and I always will." Which, if you haven't heard that before, that is the melody that we hear in Wedding Bells. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of you who have never even heard of this song before, but it's this Coldplay song that has been around for a little while, that they performed live, but just never officially released. Now, I'm not saying that this song is for sure Wedding Bells, but I just thought it had a lot of similar characteristics, and the melody sounds very similar, so you can take with it what you want. All right, so also on the 9th, we had our second performance in Athens, and when they were getting ready to go on stage, they had this video taken of them, and there was this message written on the wall behind them. And this message said, FLIFIL, obviously referencing the song Feels Like I'm Falling in Love, and Epixtai, which means expect or expecting when translated. So some people speculated that that meant they were going to perform Feels Like I'm Falling in Love at that performance, which they didn't. So the very next conclusion would be that this meant we can expect to see this song released sometime soon, which I think makes total sense. Now, we don't have an exact day when we think this is going to be released. All right, this is Tony from the future. As I'm editing this video, I just saw a tweet from Coldplay Extra that says the music video for Coldplay's new single, FLIFIL, was filmed at the ancient historic Odeon of Heroes Atticus Amphitheater tonight in Athens. The band performed this new single 7 to 8 times. Fans in attendance wore LED wristbands, and the band wore light-up jackets. There were some performing the song in sign language too. Chris suggested that the song/video is expected to be released in around 2 weeks' time. So there you have it. Looks like we're gonna have a new single in the next 2 weeks. Crazy. But the other important thing that happened on day 2 in Athens is they didn't play Feels Like I'm Falling in Love. However, they did play a new song. At the very end of the concert, Chris goes to the piano by himself and plays this beautiful ballad, and we believe the song to be titled All My Love. Now here's just a clip of the song for those who've not heard it yet. Now, to me, the melody really reminds me of True Love, and the song style itself reminds me a little bit of Rain of Love. And it's really hard to tell if this song is going to be just a piano ballad or if it's going to include more instruments. I think I'd be willing to bet that it's going to include more of a full band at some point in the final recording. Now, we did get a very long clip of the song, almost 2.5 minutes long, so that's probably a good portion of what the full song is going to be itself. But I just wanted to highlight some of my favorite lyrics, which include all the colors of the weather we've been through high, every corner of the sky we're still holding on together, and till I die, let me hold you if you cry. So we have this very sweet love song, kind of reminiscent of the lyrics that we hear in Fix You, but I'm just really looking forward to hearing more from this song, hopefully soon. And that is most of the current news that we have, but I also just wanted to mention a few things coming up to look forward to. So their next Music of the Spheres performance is on June 12th, and they'll be on tour for the rest of June, for most of July, and the end of August, but then they are taking a break in September and October. So if we do see an album release in September, I could easily see them taking those 2 months off to help promote the album, like going on late night shows and such. But I also just wanted to mention that Glastonbury is coming up really soon. Coldplay is performing on Saturday, June 29th, and perhaps we'll see another new song like we did Human Heart 3 years ago. But regardless, there is tons to look forward to, so if you haven't done so yet, I would highly encourage you to subscribe to this channel. And of course, don't forget to enter in that contest by pre-saving my new song, which is linked in the description below. And if you made it this far and enjoyed this video, definitely leave a thumbs up. But thank you so very much for watching to the very end here, and I can't wait to see you again in the next video.